So it's like try things out, make mistakes, learn from them, and eventually find the solution.
DeepSeek R1 is what we call a language model. Basically, it's AI that can understand and generate human-like tech. On top of the distillation, DeepSeek uses this thing called direct reinforcement learning.
Have you ever had that feeling like you're watching history happen right in front of you? Something that just changes everything?
Yeah, like a real Sputnik moment.
That's the kind of buzz surrounding DeepSeek R1 right now. We're talking about a small Chinese company, DeepSeek.
Dropping a bomb on the AI world.
They released an AI model that's like going toe-to-toe with OpenAI's ChatGPT.
But here's the thing, it's totally open source.
And it's crazy cheap to produce.
Like shockingly cheap.
So this isn't just for the techies. This is about access to powerful tools, potential disruption.
Maybe even national competitiveness. This is big. They really highlight the huge range of reactions to DeepSeek R1. It's fascinating.
Yeah, some folks are seeing this as a David and Goliath story, a win for open source.
Others are suspicious, think it's a strategic power play by China.
Oh yeah, and there are a few wild conspiracy theories floating around too.
Always gotta have those.
Of course, but before we get lost in the speculation, for those of us who haven't been glued to the AI news feeds, let's start with the basics.
Back to square one.
What exactly is DeepSeek R1?
Okay, so DeepSeek R1 is what we call a language model. Basically, it's AI that can understand and generate human-like text. You know, it can answer questions, write stories, even translate languages. Pretty standard stuff.
Right, we've seen that before.
But here's the kicker. R1's performance is right up there with models like ChatGPT.
The ones developed with billions of dollars.
Billions, yeah. DeepSeek claims they trained R1 for under 6 million.
Hold on, 6 million versus billions. That's an insane difference.
It's mind-blowing.
How is that even possible? Did they discover some secret AI efficiency hack or something?
Well, that's what has everyone scratching their heads. One of the key techniques they use is called distillation. Basically, R1 learns by studying the outputs of much larger AI models, like GPT-4.
Ah, so it's not starting from scratch.
Exactly. Instead of needing to crunch massive datasets from square one, it's more like learning to speak French by watching French films.
Soaking up the language by immersion rather than memorizing grammar rules.
Exactly. You got it.
That's actually a really good analogy. So it's absorbing the essence of these larger models, but without the heavy computational lifting. That's pretty clever. But there's more to it than just distillation, right? You mentioned something about direct reinforcement learning as well.
Right. On top of the distillation, DeepSeek uses this thing called direct reinforcement learning. It lets R1 learn through trial and error, kind of like how we humans solve a puzzle.
So it's like try things out, make mistakes, learn from them, and eventually find the solution.
And all this without needing step-by-step instructions. It's remarkable.
That's wild. So it's combining this efficient learning from existing AI with the adaptability of figuring stuff out on its own. No wonder people are freaking out a little bit. I mean, is this level of efficiency even realistic?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a huge point of debate. Some people, like the CEO of Scale AI, he's pretty skeptical.
What's his take?
He thinks DeepSeek isn't being totally transparent about their costs. He's suggesting they might be using a ton of GPUs, maybe even some that violate US export bans.
Okay, so there's a healthy amount of doubt out there. Is anyone actually backing up DeepSeek's claims?
No, absolutely. The founder of Stability AI, the guys behind Stable Diffusion,
Oh yeah, they're big in the open source AI world.
they actually crunched the numbers and think DeepSeek's cost claims are plausible.
Interesting. Why do they think that?
Well, they point to R1 being open source as evidence. They're like, if DeepSeek was hiding something, why make their model so open to scrutiny?
Good point. Transparency goes a long way.
Definitely. But of course, we can't forget the conspiracy theorists out there. They're seeing this whole thing as a calculated move by China.
Right, to shake up the US's dominance in AI.
Yeah, potentially undercut prices, harm US chip makers like
A
NVIDIA.
classic geopolitical chess match.
It's exactly.
Okay, so we've got doubts about the cost, support for DeepSeek, and a dash of international intrigue. I'm honestly not sure what to think. Should we be worried? Excited? Both.
Honestly, I think a healthy dose of critical thinking is key here. We don't have all the facts yet, but what we do have are some seriously interesting questions. Like, how could DeepSeek achieve this level of efficiency if they are being legit? And what does it mean for the big investments US tech giants are making if this is the new reality? Something to think about.
It's a real head-scratcher for sure. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say DeepSeek is being completely honest. Does that mean companies like Google and Microsoft totally blew it, wasted billions by not being this efficient?
That's a great question, and it's not a simple yes or no. There's this fascinating economic principle called Jevons paradox. It basically says that as a technology gets cheaper and more efficient, we actually end up using more of it overall. Like, think about electricity. As it got cheaper, we didn't use less, we invented a million new things that needed power.
So more efficient AI doesn't mean less computing power needed. It might actually mean more.
Exactly. It could trigger a surge in all sorts of new AI applications. Personalized assistants, AI tools for small businesses, you name it. And that's where DeepSeek R1 being open source gets really interesting.
Yeah, figures like Jan LeCun, the head of Meta's AI, they're calling this a huge win for open source. A win for everyone, they say.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Right. But for those of us who aren't deep in the tech world, what does open source even mean in this context? And why are people so hyped about it?
Okay, so open source software is basically software that anyone can use, modify, and distribute. No strings attached.
So it's like a free-for-all, but in a good way?
Exactly. It encourages collaboration, transparency, rapid innovation. Imagine a world where anyone can tinker with the building blocks of AI, not just a few powerful companies controlling everything.
It's like democratizing AI, giving everyone a seat at the table.
It has the potential to be incredibly powerful, but there are challenges, of course. Open source stuff can be tough to make money from. And there's always the risk of misuse.
A classic trade-off. More access, more potential for good and bad.
Exactly. It's a balancing act.
This whole DeepSeek thing has really thrown a wrench into our assumptions about AI, hasn't it?
Totally. It's like a paradigm shift, and we're still figuring out what it all means. To understand the full impact, we need to dig deeper into how they achieved this breakthrough. There's some serious ingenuity going on here. DeepSeek's approach with R1 is really something else. It's like they took distillation and direct reinforcement learning and said, hold my beer.
You know, when you were talking about distillation earlier, it finally clicked for me. It's like, instead of reading every cookbook ever written, you just watch a master chef cook and somehow you absorb their skills.
It's like osmosis.
Right.
You're getting the knowledge without all the heavy lifting. That's the beauty of distillation in AI. DeepSeek basically trained R1 by having it study the outputs of these huge pre-existing models like GPT-4. R1 figured out how to get similar results without needing the same computational horsepower.
So it's learning the what's from the best of the best, but then there's direct reinforcement learning. It almost sounds like they're letting the AI run wild, experimenting on its own.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
With direct reinforcement learning, R1 learns by trial and error. Think of it like teaching someone to play chess. Instead of handing them a rule book, you just let them play, make mistakes, and learn from experience.
So it's more about creating an environment where the AI can learn by doing rather than by following strict instructions. That's kind of mind-blowing, but wouldn't that take forever? I mean, wouldn't that type of learning be incredibly slow?
It can be time-consuming, yeah. But the cool thing about AI is that it can process information and learn way faster than we can. And since R1 doesn't need step-by-step guidance from humans, it can actually discover solutions that we might never even think of.
Okay, so now I'm picturing R1 as this AI prodigy, studying with the masters and then blazing its own trail through trial and error. I can see why some people are raising an eyebrow at DeepSeek's claims. It almost seems too good to be true.
Yeah, the skepticism is understandable. The CEO of Scale AI, for instance, he's not buying it. He thinks DeepSeek might be downplaying the real costs. Maybe they're using a massive amount of GPUs, he suggests, potentially even ones that are banned from export by the US.
So there's a chance DeepSeek isn't being entirely upfront about their methods. But then we have folks like the founder of Stability AI who are vouching for DeepSeek's claims.
Exactly. And their argument makes a lot of sense. They're saying, if DeepSeek was trying to pull a fast one, why would they make R1 open source? Why open yourself up to that level of scrutiny?
It's a good point. Transparency can be a powerful defense. And it brings us back to this whole idea of open source being a game changer in the AI world. But before we dive into that, I'm curious about the real-world effects of all of this. Let's assume, for a moment, that DeepSeek is being totally honest. How could DeepSeek R1, or models like it, actually change our daily lives?
That's where things get really interesting. Imagine a world where we have personalized AI tutors that adapt to each student's learning style, or AI assistants that can seamlessly manage our schedules and to-do lists, and AI-powered tools that help small businesses compete on a global scale.
It sounds like we're talking about a future where AI isn't just a toy for tech giants and researchers, but something everyone can access and use.
Exactly. And this is where the open source nature of DeepSeek R1 becomes so important. By making this technology freely available, DeepSeek is essentially democratizing access to AI. It's letting anyone tinker with it, adapt it, build upon it.
It's like they're giving the keys to the AI kingdom to everyone. But doesn't that come with risks? We talked about ethical implications earlier, but are there specific concerns about job displacement as AI gets smarter and more accessible?
It's a valid concern, and it's something we need to be proactive about. As AI starts doing more complex tasks, some jobs will inevitably be automated. But it's important to remember that AI can also create new opportunities and enhance what humans can do.
So it's not necessarily about humans versus AI, it's about figuring out how humans and AI can work together more effectively.
Exactly. The key is to focus on education and training. We need to equip people with the skills to thrive in a world where AI is a partner, not just a competitor.
That makes a lot of sense. So looking ahead, what are some of the key trends or developments that you're keeping an eye on in the open source AI world? What should our listeners be paying attention to?
One big trend is the growing collaboration and community-driven development in the open source AI space. We're seeing more and more researchers, developers, and enthusiasts joining forces to build and share AI models and tools.
It's like a collective effort to democratize AI, right? To
Yeah.
make it accessible to everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And this collaborative spirit is fueling rapid innovation. It's leading to the creation of increasingly sophisticated and specialized AI models.
So it's not just about copying what companies like OpenAI are doing. It's about exploring new possibilities and pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Absolutely. Another important trend is the growing emphasis on responsible AI development. The open source community is playing a crucial role in creating frameworks, guidelines, and tools to make sure that AI is used ethically and benefits society as a whole.
So it's not just about building cool technology for the sake of it. It's about building it in a way that aligns with our values and benefits humanity.
That's the goal. The open source AI movement has the potential to be a powerful force for good. I believe it's going to have a huge impact on the future of technology and society.
This whole conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. We've gone from the technical details of DeepSeek R1 to the implications for industries and society as a whole. It feels like we've only scratched the surface of this rapidly evolving world of open source AI.
It's a really exciting time to be following this field. And as we've discussed, it's not just about watching from the sidelines. We all have a part to play in shaping the future of AI, whether it's by supporting open source initiatives, having thoughtful discussions, or advocating for responsible development.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, but the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage our listeners to check out the show notes for links to those YouTube channels we mentioned, explore DeepSeek R1 for yourselves, and dive deeper into this fascinating world of open source AI.
And most importantly, keep asking questions, stay curious, and be part of the conversation that's shaping the future of this transformative technology.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of DeepSeek R1 and open source AI. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. All right, so we've talked a lot about DeepSeek, their surprising efficiency, the whole open source debate, and even touched on some geopolitical stuff.
It's been a wild ride.
But before we wrap things up, I want to get into the nitty-gritty. How could DeepSeek R1 and models like it actually change the game in specific industries? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, let's get down to brass tacks.
Let's talk real-world impact.
Okay, well, healthcare is a huge one. Yeah. Imagine AI diagnostic tools that are way more accurate and accessible, especially for folks in underserved areas. Or even personalized treatment plans based on your individual genes.
It's like having a world-class doctor in your pocket. That's mind-blowing. What about education? AI tutors seem like a no-brainer, but are there other possibilities?
Oh, tons. Think about AI systems that can actually analyze how a student learns best and then tailor the content to their needs. It could completely revolutionize personalized learning, make education way more engaging and effective.
It's like a custom-designed curriculum for every student. Wow. Okay, so healthcare and education are obvious ones. What other industries are going to be shaken up by DeepSeek R1 and its open source cousins?
Finance, definitely. I mean, AI algorithms are already being used in trading and risk assessment, but imagine those tools becoming even smarter and available to everyone, not just the big players.
So it's not just about making the rich richer, it's about giving everyone the tools to make smart financial decisions. I like that. What about creative fields? Could something like R1 be used for more than just writing ad copy or jingles?
Totally. Think about AI tools that can help artists, musicians, writers with their creative process, like generating ideas, experimenting with styles, even creating entirely new forms of art.
It's like an AI muse working side by side with human creators. That's both exciting and a little scary, to be honest. But what about the potential downsides? We talked about the ethics of it all, but are there specific concerns about jobs being lost as AI gets smarter and easier to use?
It's a valid concern, and it's something we need to be prepared for. As AI becomes more capable, it's inevitable that some jobs will be automated. But we have to remember that AI can also create new opportunities and enhance what humans can do.
So it's not about humans being replaced by AI, it's about figuring out how humans and AI can work best together.
Exactly. The key is education and training. We need to equip people with the skills to thrive in an AI-powered world. We have to learn how to work with AI, not against it.
That makes sense. So looking ahead, what are some of the big trends or developments you're watching in the open source AI world? What should our listeners be paying attention to?
One thing to watch is the growing collaboration and community-driven development in the open source AI space. We're seeing a huge increase in the number of researchers, developers, enthusiasts, all coming together to build and share AI models and tools.
It's like a global movement to democratize AI, right?
Right.
Making this technology accessible to everyone, not just a select few.
You got it. And this collaborative spirit is driving some seriously fast innovation, leading to more sophisticated and specialized AI models all the time.
It's not just about replicating what companies like OpenAI are doing, it's about exploring new possibilities and pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Absolutely. Another big thing to keep an eye on is the increasing focus on responsible AI development. The open source community is leading the charge in developing frameworks, guidelines, tools to ensure AI is used ethically and for the good of society.
So it's not just about building cool technology, it's about building it the right way, in a way that aligns with our values and benefits humanity.
100%. The open source AI movement is a powerful force for good, and I believe it will have a profound impact on the future of technology and our world.
This has been a wild ride. From DeepSeek's sudden appearance to the far-reaching implications for different industries and society as a whole. It feels like we've only just begun to explore the possibilities of this rapidly changing world of open source AI.
It's an amazing time to be following this field, that's for sure. And as we've said, it's not just about watching from the sidelines. We all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI, whether it's supporting open source projects, engaging in discussions about AI, or advocating for responsible AI development. We're all in this together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We've covered a lot of ground today, but this is just the beginning of the conversation. We encourage all our listeners to check out the show notes for links to the YouTube channels we talked about. Go explore DeepSeek R1 for yourselves and dive deeper into this fascinating world of open source AI.
And remember, stay curious, keep asking questions, and be part of the conversation that's shaping the future of this incredible technology.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of DeepSeek R1 and open source AI. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.